Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes of the World. I'm Graham Hughes. Hello, how you doing this morning? Hope you all right. We've got Diz in the chat. We've got Francis. We've got Lost Missionary. We've Starries. We've got Harushi. We have Simon Smith. Graham Haller is in there. Another Graham H. Nice to have you on board, mate. We've got Stu the Bearded. Great name. We've got Blah Blah CW is in the chat as well. Good morning, Lost Missionary, Simon Smith. Hello, hello. Listen, if you want to join our friends in the friendly chat this morning, talking about what's going on in the news, with some good news stories at the end of it, because, we can't be all doom and gloom all the time. If you want to join us, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and let us know your feelings. But just don't be a troll. It's all we ask, You be a troll all the rest of the time. You've got years, decades maybe to be a troll. Just a couple of hours in the morning. If you're going to be here, don't be a troll, okay? Just take 2 hours off, not being a troll, all right? There you go, lovely. You might enjoy it. It might be nice. You might feel like you're part of a community for a change instead of a horrible little deformed creature underneath a bridge extorting tolls out of people in the form of riddles. Anyway, so it can be, you can prevent its collection, not entirely though, but at least limit its scope, says Stu the Bearded. Yes, what are you talking about? But I'm sure the people in the chat do. Okay, so obviously the news broke just before we went to air last night with Geoscope that Dolly Parton had passed away. Apparently she had cancer. I didn't actually know that last night. Her death was announced by her nephew, Brian Seaver. She was born in 1946 in rural Tennessee. She was the fourth of 12 children and grew up in a one-room cabin. She began singing in church, appeared on local television at the age of 10, and performed at the Grand Ole Opry at 13. After finishing school in 1964, she moved to Nashville and initially worked primarily as a songwriter. Her breakthrough as a performer came when she joined Porter Wagner's television show in 1967, and she ultimately scored 25 US country number one singles and 47 top 10 country albums. And she famously wrote Jolene, fantastic song. It's about me, actually, my auburn hair. Jolene and Valerie by the Zootons, which was covered by Amy Winehouse, both written about me. And I Will Always Love You, which was made famous by Whitney Houston in the movie The Bodyguard, which is one of those movies that everyone knows the music for, but that no one actually saw. But if anyone actually did go and see the movie The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner in it, they can't remember shit about it now. Basically, it's a woman and she's a singer, I think, and she falls in love with her bodyguard. I think. Can't remember. I don't even know if I've seen it. There were some movies in my life that I just sort of passed me by very much. But yeah, very brief battle with cancer, says Martin. During COVID, she wanted the unvaxxed put in detainment camps. Good. That's yeah. Well, she contributed money towards the vaccination effort for getting a vaccination for COVID because unlike a lot of people, she wasn't a dickhead. She wasn't a dickhead. That's why I put in the title. This is not my quote, but someone said about her last night. They said she was the last American that everyone liked. I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true. So yeah, she 9 to 5 famously topped the US pop chart and earned Dolly an Oscar nomination for Best Original Song. And other major recordings include Here You Come Again, Islands in the Storm with Kenny Rogers, and the trio albums with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris. She was in Steel Magnolias, Rhinestone, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. She was in 9 to 5, sort of a breakout role. And was that 1980? 1980, was it? And then she launched a theme park in the mid-80s and called it Dollywood, which come on, I'm a sucker for a pun. And but one of the things that I want to concentrate on is the launch of the Imagination Library in 1995, which was inspired by a dad who couldn't read or write. And the program sends free books to children from birth to age 5 and now distributes nearly 25 million books a year internationally. During the pandemic, as I already mentioned, she donated $1 million to the Vanderbilt University Medical Center, helping fund research that contributed to the Moderna vaccine against COVID, saving the lives of millions of people, literally millions of people. And other things that she did: wildfire relief, scholarships, hospitals, AIDS, HIV charities, wildlife conservation. She supported Black Lives Matter, opposed legislation, legislation restricting transgender people's access to toilets. She rarely endorsed candidates or tied herself to either major US party. But it's very telling that a woman who supported Black Lives Matter and supported the trans community, the LGBT community as a whole, for so many years, stood up for what was right in her own way. Donald Trump has ordered that all the flags are flown at half-mast for her. This is a woman who could cut through, and do you know what? That gives me a bit of hope. That gives me a bit of hope that some of the dickheads aren't too far gone. I know there's a minority who are just, but yeah. The way that she cut across gave her an unusually broad audience from country traditionalists, liberals, conservatives, LGBTQ audiences, Christians, multiple generations of musicians. And a public image was built around warmth, humour, self-deprivation, and refusal to take herself too seriously. And her legacy is way more than just a country singer, because it's country music. I mean, she was a songwriter. First and foremost, she was a songwriter, and a fantastic one. She could also play fuckloads of instruments. I was lucky enough to see her live at Glastonbury in 2014, and she played like 17 different bloody instruments on the stage. It was amazing. She was also an actor, a very savvy businesswoman, and at the end of the day, the philanthropy will continue beyond her life, which is a really good thing, right? She had a good life. It's a life that was well lived, and I just want to make this point, right? It really fucks me off, right? You do, because I talk about things that fuck me off all the time. This is my therapy. This show, like people who have the ear of the right. So you could think about punk bands. You could think about comedians in particular, who are left leaning or liberal leaning in their personal beliefs, right? And they manage to get people from the other side on because they like their music, or they make them laugh, right? And then they go to the dark side. They go to the dark, and you're like, why? Why are you doing this? We need more people like Dolly Parton. We need more people like Suggs from Madness, who are very liberal people who managed to get the knobheads on side, and who are like, oh, I like the music of Madness. Oh, I like the music of Dolly Parton. Oh, I like these comedians who are funny, but also have a political message that can seep through the music, can seep through the jokes. And it sticks because people, if you entertain someone, whether it's making them laugh or giving them a song to hum along to, they're a lot more likely to forgive you of stuff than a politician or dickhead gob on the stick on the internet going, oh, fucking hell, look at the state of the world. But yeah, I really do feel that, and I do find it absolutely heartbreaking when you see these people like Ricky Gervais and that gobshite from the Sex Pistols, Johnny Lydon, who get to an age and they just go fucking right wing, don't they? They just jump on the whole, you offended. I'm gonna, it was fun when Ricky Gervais was offending the right people. Yeah, cock a snook at the rich and the powerful and the people in the Epstein files. Yeah, see if I care. But don't have a go at trans people. Don't have a go at people like struggling, single mothers, people coming fleeing war from other countries. Don't have a go at them. Don't stomp on people, But some people do. So Dolly Parton managed to dodge that particular end of her career, end of life, lurch to the right, and yeah, I suppose people could argue that she could have done more. She could have stood up against Donald Trump for all the good it would do, for all the good it would do. If she actually said, "Oh yeah, Donald Trump's a twat," He would have just had all caps, I hate Dolly Parton, like he did a couple of years ago, where he wrote in all caps, I hate Taylor Swift. Okay, cool. Well done, Donny. Well done, dickhead. Okay, so my first memorable encounter with Dolly Parton was probably Rhinestone, the film where she gambles she can train Sylvester Stallone into a country performer. It was like the 80s. The 80s were a wild time. Dolly is a perfect example of how the wealthy could be spending the money not like the tech bros trying to subjugate the world. Yeah, stories. And also, she could have been a billionaire. And she chose not to be. She chose not to be a billionaire because she wanted to help. She wanted to spend money helping people. Now, there was a great tradition of philanthropy, right? And it runs through the veins of a lot of people who grow up in poverty. And that's how you generally know. Generally speaking, and I know there's always going to be exceptions that, possibly prove the rule. But you find that a lot of the people who have fuckloads of money now have always had fuckloads of money. They've just got a bit more. And so they don't have that knowledge. That thing I often talk about the gilded bubble, I call it. It's like a golden bubble that these people grow up in. And it denies the very human emotion of empathy. They can't put themselves in someone else's shoes because they've never lived that life. They've never had to deal with that kind of heartbreak, that those decisions that you have to take when you don't have, 2 fucking shillings to rub together. They've never had to confront that. And it's very interesting. There's a lot of stories of people who had fuck all growing up and managed to make something of themselves. And they end up giving a lot back once they get up there, because they know that the struggle is real. Whereas Lord fucking Fontenfuck, like Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Nigel Farage or Richard Tice and all that lot, they don't know what it's like to struggle. They never have, never will. They don't know. They don't know. The only ever time they've ever had to worry about money is when they've gambled somebody else's money on a fucking horse and it's coming forth. Do you know what I mean? She seemed to have tread lightly when it comes to Trump. Yeah, Mr. Tisk. And I do you know what? And you're probably going to hate me saying this, but if I was Dolly Parton, I would have done the same thing. Because there's just no point. There's just no point. Think about all the celebrities that came out for Kamala Harris a couple of years ago, for what good it did. For what good it did. And you've also got to look at it this way, okay? If you alienate a huge section of your audience, it's not just you that's going to be impacted by that, because it's all the people around you. It's all the people that work with you. It's the people running your gigs. It's the people running your merch. It's the people running, your production and everything. There's a lot of people who are around these famous people, and if they, suddenly half their fucking consumer base, if you want to call it that, their fandom decides to abandon them because of something political that they've said. Movie stars, people go, I'm not going to see that movie. It's got that lefty fucking actor in it or actress. And yeah, the people who worked on that movie might never get to work on a movie again. Because the movie fucking bombs, and then it's not something that you really want on your CV, is it? So yeah, I kind of get it, and it's shit. And it's easy for us, I guess, to be quite black and white about this stuff, but if it was us and we were in that position and we had a decision to make, I would find it difficult. I would find it difficult because it wouldn't be about me at that point. It would just be about, and keeping the charity going and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the changing things structurally, I think, would be a better idea than necessarily going up against someone as well funded and well backed by the oligarchs and the monsters of the world, the merchants of death, the tobacco barons, and the people who work in defense, making weapons of death, weapons of mass destruction, weapons of suffering, tools of suffering. Oh, what do you do? I make tools of suffering. Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How many MAGA adjacent people probably got vaccinated and therefore saved people who couldn't be because of their gentle influence of supporting vaccines? So I agree with you. Yeah, SG, pick your battles, SG, and that's what you have to do. And we have to be smart about it. We really do. And I left a message on Zach Polanski's Facebook. He's a Facebook friend of mine the other day because he was talking about the way that the media spin whenever the Greens put a policy forward, but any Green member can propose a policy. And I put like, you might want to have a think about this in going forwards because there's a lot of interest in the Green Party and they're going to turn it into something that it's not. And the Green Party's touchstone, its base, its foundation needs to be environmental issues. And I really think they've lost. I didn't like this, but I really think that the Green Party have lost focus in the last couple of years on this. Now it's a balance. It's a balancing act. A lot of people have come into the Green Party because of Zach Polanski, but a lot of entries have gone in there because they're disaffected with Labour. And somebody wrote, "Oh, you want the Greens to go back to what we were 10 years ago?" And I'm thinking, well, no, actually, I just don't want you going back to what Labour was 10 years ago with this factional battles of issues that the Greens shouldn't be really concentrating on. I mean, sure, yeah, social justice and voting reform and all this and social housing, yeah, absolutely, go for it 100%. But lead from the front on environmental issues, because let's be realistic. Fight the battles you can win, right? The Greens aren't going to win the next election. They're not going to get a majority in the next election, but they keep banging the drum for the environment, which is what they should have been doing all summer. And I'm not seeing much stuff online, and I'm sure there's some Greens watching this who can point me in the right direction for this, but I've not seen much to do with environmentalism, which is remarkable considering just how horrific this summer's been in terms of heat waves. And we've also got the El Nino effect coming. So yeah, I mean, that was my point of like, don't be taken over by interests because that never ends well. But yeah, fight the battles you can win. That's very true. And we when we talk about going back to the EU, I think this is a really good example of fighting the battles we can win. I would not take us back into the EU tomorrow if I had the power. If I had a magic button I could press, right? And it said on my Stream Deck, I had a magic button that I could just press it, and it would rejoin the EU. Oh no, it's confetti. I wouldn't press it. Because Farage is still out there, and he's circling us like a shark. And they look at the way that we fuck are flailing at the moment, coming up with these mad policies and screaming, oh, we're gonna prioritize young people with children, and it's like, okay, what about old people who haven't got any children? You're gonna kick them out the house? No, we're not gonna kick them out, but we're gonna. What about people who have been left bereaved? What about them? Oh, well, they're flailing around because their raison d'etre, sorry for the butchering that pronunciation, my francophone friend, is to leave the EU. That's the whole point, and so if we give them the gift of going back into the EU while Nigel Farage is still circling us like a shark, he's going to take a huge bite out of us, and it's uncomfortable for me to say, but we've got to fight the battles we can win. Can we win that battle right now? No. All we would do if we rejoin the EU tomorrow, and I'll say this about the single market as well, I do think we should join a customs union before the next election, but not the customs union. So they can't, we can have a really solid argument. But what it'll do is give red meat to Nigel Farage and his dying party, because Nigel Farage's party is on the way out at the moment. You know that if you come at the king, you can't miss, right? Yeah, you know that expression, right? The Democrats tried to come after Trump when Biden was in power, and they missed. They missed so badly. Trump is now president again, and we're not even halfway through his presidency. Yeah, don't miss. Got to be canny about it. So I would, if it was me, I had the option on this. I would make it so in the next election, we'll talk about closer ties with the EU. Definitely, maybe even put single market access in there in the manifesto for Labour for 2029. But leave full access until leave full rejoining until the 2030s. And there were some in the pro EU camp who fucking venomously disagree with me on this. And there's some who sort of go, yeah, okay, I get it. But I'm not one to. I remember back in the day. Do you remember the May Day riots that we used to have? Remember this? 25 years ago, rich kids used to go and terrorize the staff working in McDonald's. I fucking hated it. Really fucked me off. So I just finished university at the time. I studied politics, and it was like anti-capitalist riots. And I'm like, okay, you anti-capitalist. What are you for? You know, it's no good having a sign saying down with this sort of thing. Careful now. What do you want? Have something positive. Now, the pro EU camp have got something wonderfully positive now. Rejoin the EU. Look at all the benefits we can have. Arguing for the benefits of EU membership. No, which is what we should have argued for at the start. But here we have a really good example of why we should have stayed in the EU, with Canada being given these massive, massive tariffs by Donald Trump, right? 50% tariffs on aluminium and hockey supplies, and the breakdown of that meeting that they had about the trade agreement came because America demanded that they drop speaking French in any official correspondence. Fuck off. Sovereignty. It's like, this is our country. We're a bilingual country. Canada's a bilingual country. No, fuck off. Imagine we have a deal with America, and they're like, we want you to take the Welsh off your passports. We want you to take the Scots Gaelic off the passport. That's got to go. You've got to change all the signs in Wales to just in English. No, fuck off. What the hell? And the other thing, right, which is just like mind blowing, and it's exactly what a lot of us who bothered to educate ourselves about what the EU was and what the WTO is, and what it means and everything. Donald Trump wanted to have a veto over any future trade deals that Canada creates or signs, goes into negotiations with any other countries or economic blocs in the world. And that's what Trump would want over us. That's what he'd say. You want a really good trade deal, mate? And this isn't even for a really good trade deal. This is just to get rid of the tariffs. And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. Leaving the EU was the biggest act of self-harm this country has ever carried out on itself. We imposed the sort of sanctions that a country gets for war crimes. We imposed those sanctions on ourselves willingly, voluntarily, for the idea of trading with the other countries of the world. And when I'm standing here, sitting here, saying, please listen to me. Please, for the love of God, listen to me. On the IMF website, the International Monetary Fund website, they list countries as developing nations, developing economies, emerging economies, and advanced economies. And of the advanced economies of the world, there's about 40. Okay? 40 countries. So it's just under a quarter of all the countries in the world, right? Are seen as advanced economies. That means that they not just have quite a high GDP and GDP per capita and all that, but they have a mixed economy. That's not just based on one substance, one commodity, one output, right? And there's a certain level of bouginess about, as our friend Aid might say, about our that society. And here's the headline, right? Of those 40 countries listed on that on that website, right? sovereign states. 31 of them are in Europe. 31 of them are in Europe. 9 are in the rest of the world. So we gave up the best deal we could ever possibly have with the 31 countries of Europe. Well, I mean, obviously it was the EU, but it was EU plus the EEA plus Switzerland, right? But like, we gave up the deals that we had with all those countries, which are the best deals we could ever possibly hope to imagine, for the hope of getting better deals with the 9 other advanced economies around the world, one of which is America. And I always thought that was a pipe dream. And there's no advanced economies in the Caribbean. There's no advanced economies in the, well, apart from, parts of the US, Puerto Rico, etc. But, as individual independent states, there are none in the Caribbean. There's none in Central America. There's none in South America. There's none in Africa. There's only 4 of the 5 in the whole of Asia. It's a massive continent. There's only 5 economies seen as advanced. And the reason why it's important that I stress the difference between emerging economies and advanced economies is this. We are a country that only makes stuff for people who are well off. We do not create things in this country for people who are dirt poor. And the sad news is that of the 8 billion people on the planet, 7 billion of them are effectively dirt poor. Not necessarily to the level of living in a mud hut and having to eat rice, cold rice every day for breakfast. But I mean, I'm talking about not being able to buy a Nissan Qashqai, not being able to buy anything that we produce in this country because it's just too fucking expensive. It takes too long to get somewhere. We don't make it at scale like what they do in China. And so people aren't going to buy it, But think of the pork market, says Gallifreyan man. Well, they were in China, and China's not an advanced economy. It isn't, yes, we did. Slap, 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 says Vic Viper Scott. I hope you're talking about. The UK imposing sanctions on itself. I mean, it's even worse for you, mate, because England and Wales teamed up to impose these fucking sanctions on Scotland, who resolutely did not want them in any way, shape, or form. Over 60% of people in Scotland voted to remain in the EU. Super majority. And their wishes were just ignored. Just like in 1979 when they had a referendum on devolution for Scotland, didn't they, in 1979? And the Tory government just went, nah. It's just advisory. They voted yes. Can we have some more devolution, please? It wasn't until 1999 that the Scottish Parliament got set up. I think the demand to be consulted on all trade deals was a complete overstep, which amplified what was in the MCA. It looked like vassalage versus sovereignty. Yeah. And the thing is, our relationship with the EU, I'll be very clear with this, it wasn't that of a vassal state. We were one of the 3 senior members of the EU. Some of the most famous things that the EU ever fucking did were British ideas or were pushed by the British. Fucking enlargement of the EU. That was pushed by the British. Article 50 that everyone kept on banging on about, that was written by a British bloke. In the same way that the European Convention of Human Rights was written by British lawyers. And not everyone, but majority British lawyers. It's not a foreign court, the European Court of Human Rights. It's not a foreign court. We have judges on it. We've always had judges on it. It's like saying that if you commit a crime in Liverpool and you get done in Manchester, because that's where the courtroom has some fucking space, you say, oh, you got no jurisdiction here, because this is a foreign court. No, it's not. Not the same country. What are you talking about? It's part of the same jurisdiction. Britain. I just find that just like absolutely mind-blowing that the very, very, very wealthy were just given a free ride to get away with it. And, I'm just sad that, we've lost Dolly Parton. She's had a great life. 80 is, it's good innings, isn't it? And she brought happiness and joy and she supported, she fought the battles. She's a savvy person who fought the battles she knew she could win. And we need more of that. And she could get across the political divide. And we need more people like that as well. One of the things I always prided myself on back in the day was that I could get on with people with different political views to me. And I think that's something that I'm not as good at these days, just because politics has become so polarized and so intense and so life and death for a lot of people in a way that it just wasn't 20 years ago. Everything seemed a bit more abstract 20 years ago, I'll tell you. But yeah, I feel like what Trump tried to do to Canada absolutely 100% just underlines why it was so. It was sabotage. It was an act of self-sabotage to leave the EU, to leave this big gang of very wealthy, advanced nations that was like, nah, fuck us all. We're gonna make Apple bend to our will. Yeah, bend Apple, bend, and they changed the chargers on Apple so they're the same USB-C chargers that we have on everything else. Nintendo. You don't have a different charger for your Game Boy. You don't have a different charger for your phone, different charger for your tablet. No, just one. Universal. The EU did that. We talk about standards. The EU standards grew out of British standards. Remember the British standard kite? The little kite that used to be on the glass of the window in your car. Do you remember that? Yeah, that was that was the precursor to the CE mark, which we now have on all electronic products that are okay to be sold in Europe, and that other countries use as the standard. So if they want to sell some electronic goods in Brazil that have been made in China, it has to have the CE stamp on. That's a law that's a rule regulation in Brazil, because they know that if it's up to European standards, then it probably won't electrocute anyone. Even though that product couldn't even be used in Europe because it runs on 110 volts and it's got a different plug. I have a hard time with those typically on the right. Something about being called a man and sick in all definitions and erased from public life rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, that's what I mean, Ren. And I'm sorry. I'm really fucking sorry that you're having to live through this bullshit right now. But it will pass. Don't worry. It will go away eventually. But right now, you're in the fucking thick of it, and it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. And the right, yeah, like I say, a lot of things back in the day seemed a bit abstract. Governments would talk about education, but if you weren't in education, if you didn't have any kids in school, okay, whatever. They'd talk about looking after pensioners. Well, you weren't a pensioner, okay, whatever. But now you have got politicians whose job it is, seemingly, in their own minds, is to make life a fucking misery for various minority groups. They swing around the wheel of fucking the fickle finger of fascist fucking fury. If it swings around, who's it going to be today? Oh, it's going to be the EU. Oh, it's going to be trans people. Oh, it's going to be migrants. Oh, it's going to be single mums. Oh, it's going to be a black academic. Let's hound him to death. Oh, it's going to be Harry and Meghan. Oh, let's hound her to death. Like we did to Harry's mum. Yeah. Not only that, Graham says, when I'm paying, but Brexit had us younger folk completely ignored, even to an greater degree, fucking us over further in the process. Yeah. So many people who voted for Brexit are no longer with us anymore. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who voted for that fucking thing don't have to live with the consequences because they're not with us anymore. Andy says the Soviets back in the day had an improved model of the T-72 tank that came out with the two armor bulges on its forward hull. It was called the Dolly Parton. Dolly had the best tip ever. If she went to bed with her makeup on and took it off in the morning, that way, if it was an emergency and had to go out, she still looked good. Yeah, but I've been out with, with the makeup on, and I had to do the walk of shame the next morning. I mean, the makeup was all over the place. I remember the pre-EU when electrical appliances came without a plug, batteries were never included. Yeah. When the way to threaten to grape and murder me unless I strangle with them, agree with them, kind of bothers me a lot. It's their protection, bollocking on about gardens and lightning and threatening women. Yeah, strange English lyricist. It is. You're completely correct. I mean, these people are fucking psychopaths. Someone made a really good point about the obsession. It was an American saying you're obsessed. These people are obsessed with someone, a trans person in another state, playing a game that you're not interested in, and being able to compete in that, and that's the most important thing to some people these days. That's the most important. What about women playing sports? And Neil deGrasse Tyson's got, I think, the right idea on this. He says, put it into the divisions, then you get more sport. Put it into divisions based on, I don't know, whatever you want to base it on. In boxing and in wrestling, you have different weight divisions because it's unfair for a fella who's, a weedy little fuck to be up against someone who's 3 times as fucking heavy as him. But if you have someone who's the same weight as that particular boxer, you got a fight on your hands. Both sides have got a chance. We can do that for athletics. We can do that for swimming. We can do that for loads of stuff. Have more categories. It's fine. We do it all the time for the Paralympics. We have different categories based on your disability. We don't have someone who has no legs, competing against someone who has got legs. I mean, it just wouldn't be fair. Like, why? So we have more sports. Yeah, the answer to trans women in sports is more sports. More divisions, more categories to put people into, and then it can be a sliding scale. But yeah, Montague Harrier bred at an undisclosed site in England. 1 male and 2 females. Some good news in a summer that's been hell for the OSPB with fires at Abernethy and Minsmere. Says James. Sarah, hugs to you, my friend. Oh, Sarah. I spoke to my mental health team yesterday. I'm so lucky that I still have access, as I feel like giving up. It's a tired life right now, having suicidal thoughts daily. Oh, Sarah, please stay with us. We love you in our community here. Okay, we think you're really fucking special, and please, I know intrusive thoughts come and they go, and it's difficult, and it's just, unfortunately, you and Gallifrey and Ren and other friends of ours here are just in the absolute maelstrom of this hate, this manufactured hate. Oh, and that's probably the worst thing about it, like, it's like, anti-Semitism is fucking horrible. I'm not going to fucking defend it, right? It's fucking horrible. However, right, there are things that have been done by the Israeli state, right, which does not reflect the views of all Jewish people. It doesn't even reflect the views of all Israelis. But that anti-Semites, racist, bigots can point at and go, yeah, they did this, they did that. Anti-Muslim hate. They can say, oh, well, they did this, they did that. You don't have that with trans people. There's nothing there. There's literally nothing there. There's nothing wrong. And it's just, yeah, let's go after them. So I'm sorry that you're living through this, Sarah, but please stay with us. We need people. We need people like you who are on the right side of history. And I know that it can be exhausting fighting the good fight, and if you need to take a rest, if you need to take a break from the daily influx of bad fucking news, then please take a break, and we'll be here for you when when you want to come back. But please try. And I know it's difficult, but please try and not let it get on top of you too much, because there's the great line by Leonard Cohen, there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in. And there is, that this is going to pass. This will pass. It will end at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. But it will collapse under the weight of its own absurdity, and we'll be looking back in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, thinking, "What the fuck were we doing? What was all that about?" And it'll be as like bizarre as the demonic possession. What was it? In the 1980s, when they said that there was some kind of satanic link with Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. I love you all. Oh, Sarah, thank you very much for the super chat. We love you too, and I'm going to give you a confetti. This is for Sarah. Hey, thank you. Gallifrey and Ren, clearly I deserve it, Graham Hughes. After all, I had the goal to use the toilet once. Well, yeah, exactly. When you talk to transphobes, you're like, what's the problem? They're in which women's sports? Which one? Well, there was a weightlifter from New Zealand. Did she win all the trophies? Did she? No. Did she win gold in the Olympics? No. But she represented their country. I'm like, okay, cool. That's who New Zealand wanted to represent their country, and the rules allowed it. So, why do you care that much about women's weightlifting that you've never ever watched at the Olympics? Yeah, Sarah, you are valued, says Lost Machine. Everyone in our gang here, who it's not just on this channel, but of course, Phil and Aid and all our other friends. You're a good bunch. You're a good bunch, and we need more people who are good in this life. There's so many people out there who are just bitter and twisted and just mean, just horrible. And we need to combat that. We need bullying to be unacceptable again. We need being mean to be unacceptable again. Karen also says, Dolly Parton, whose name comes up automatically on my phone, despite me nearly never typing her phone name since the first iPhone, was a real human being who genuinely loved people. Americans should be proud. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Saz, thank you very much, Saz. £10 super chat. Yay! Thank you. Ren, Liam, Sarah, and anyone, Graham, in this community care. Yeah, we really do. This is why we do this. This is why we get together. I keep saying that. I see this as sort of therapy, just to sort of get through what's going on in the news and make sense of it, but also to take a step back and laugh at the shit that's going on and the stupidity of these dickheads, and let them know that they're not all fucking. They're not omnipotent. That they can't change us who we are. They're not going to win. They're not going to win because they're never going to change who we are inside. They're not going to change our souls. The fact that we will always stand up against this shit because we see that it's wrong. We know intrinsically, we know in our bones that it's wrong, don't we? To be horrible to people for no reason. I can be horrible about Nigel Farage. I can be not horrible about Donald Trump because they fucking deserve it. In the same way, I'll be horrible about some fucking paedophile or some fucking murderer or someone who's done something fucking horrible. Yeah, I'll be mean about them. Yeah, sure, whatever. But to take a group of people who are already put upon and put upon them some more, in the name of what? The way they went after the same people, the overlap of people who went after Jason Arday and the gender critical community is 100%. If you did that as a Venn diagram, it would just be one circle. One circle. Gender crits handed Jason Arday to death. Digital lynching of Jason Arday for the crime of being black. And they go after trans women for the crime of being trans. They don't believe that trans is a thing, now. In the same way they don't believe climate change is a thing. They don't believe vaccines actually work. They don't think that the world is round. These people are deniers of reality. And they're the same people that if this was the 1970s or the 1980s would be saying that gay people don't exist. It's absolutely impossible that gay people could exist. It's absolutely impossible that a man could fancy another very good-looking man, and it's just like, well, why? Denying that left-handed people exist. And it's a really good example, this, because I like to use it for not just an example of things in the past that were just bonkers, but when my sister was in school in the 1960s, the left-handed kids were forced to write with their right hand. Isn't that crazy? We look back now and go, what the fuck? Why? Why? What difference did it make? But there are people out there who really struggle with the beautiful variety of life. They hate it. And that's why, a lot of these people don't care about the breakdown of biodiversity because they think there's too many types of butterfly. They think there's too many species of tree. They think there's too many, great apes. They think that people should fit in a box and have to go. People don't go into boxes very easily, They really, really don't. And I don't know how we get this across to people, but one of the things that I saw on the tributes to Dolly Parton was like, I didn't agree with her about her view on trans people. I didn't agree with her on vaccines, but I loved her music and I miss her. So like, you have people who venomously disagree. And if Dolly Parton wasn't such a wonderful person and she hadn't, been to and she hadn't written these amazing songs and been such a great singer. I mean, if she hadn't done that, if she was just a politician who was saying exactly the same thing that Dolly Parton said, they would have been celebrating her passing. And this is the power that some people have. There's only a few of them. They're like fucking unicorns, right? Who are people who the right respects. I've got time for them. I've got time for them. I think David Attenborough is possibly one of them. But yeah, they say, oh yeah, I respect them, and they're so important to getting across the political divide, because I can't do it. You probably can't do it either. And so yeah, we need more Dolly Partons. We desperately need more Dolly Partons, because there's more that unites us than divides us. And as soon as we go down that route, how many conversations have I had with someone who's just been casually transphobic in the last 5 years? Never had the conversation about trans people before then, except, oh, Nadia from Big Brother, she's trans. Oh, is she? Oh, I love her. She's fucking great. Let's vote for Nadia, the biggest winner by the biggest margin and the biggest vote winner of Big Brother, trans woman, back in the noughties. When it seemed like that was the progress that we were having at the time. The nation's sweetheart. What was the name of the wife of one of the characters in Coronation Street who was trans? Audrey. Was it Audrey who was trans in Coronation Street? And everyone fucking loved her. And then, a husband had to sort of euthanize her at the end, and it was really traumatic. And he went to, people taken into, I don't know, the actress herself is trans, but she's playing a trans woman, and taken into the nation's heart. And how far have we come from that? But it is possible to get back there. And don't forget, that was at the same time that South Park was putting out horrific anti-trans stuff, and we still had a lot of media where the trans person was the killer, or someone would have get off with a beautiful woman and then discover they were trans and go, oh god, I can't believe what I've done. It's like, fuck off. No, I'll take things that have never happened, for 50, Alex. My mum, born in 1924 and naturally left-handed, was forced to write with her right hand. This is based on superstition that right is right and left is evil. The Latin for left is sinister. Yeah, and the Latin for right is Dexter. So obviously, if someone's called Dexter, they definitely wouldn't grow up to be a serial killer. I have no idea why everyone talks about boxers and the far right. Think of the trees, folks. There are eco-friendly forms of concrete. Create a well-fertilized artificial reef around the UK. And all the bankers had to do was get greedy, crash the global economy, and now bankers like Farage can make us jealous of each other. Yeah. Now they all want us fighting amongst ourselves so they can piss all over us. We should get a copy of the Skeptic's Anointed Annotated Bible. It points out the contradictions, and at times God was a bastard and stuff like that, says Jenny Robinson. Black Dot Dot, I was forced to write my right hand. My handwriting is terrible, but I can play squash with both hands now, says Black Dot Dot. You were forced to write with your right hand. What a crazy fucking world. What a crazy fucking world. To be able to fill out the form, to tick the right thing, and everyone must be the same. And this is the same group of people, if you think about it, who rail against communism. And you think, well, what's communism? It's everyone's the same, innit? Everyone eats the same food. Everyone has the same meal. Everyone has the same job. Everyone gets paid the same. Everyone lives in the same fucking flat. Do you know what I mean? Not the same flat. I mean, the same type of flat. It's like everyone's the same. There's no variety. And that's why I think that communism, and you can argue with me and say it's never been done properly, Graham, but it punches down the idea of variety. And Variety's the spice of life. It really fucking is, you know? And I think that most men out there are gay. They just haven't found the right man yet. I think most women are lesbians. They just haven't found the right woman yet, you know? One day you might. Who knows? But keep an open mind, for God's sake. And there's so many people who can't open their minds, who have to, you know, bottle up their feelings, their emotions. They don't hurt anyone. Oh, I'm not talking about people who are psychopaths who dream of murdering people and chopping them up and putting them in the fridge. I'm talking about people who just, you know, are terrified at the idea that they might like to get with another guy. Terrified of the idea, you know, that they might fall in love with a trans woman. You know, terrified of it. Why? What difference does it make? At the end of the day, what difference does it make? But yeah, all political systems in the end have one weakness: personal greed. Yeah, you're right. Well, I'll say that about capitalism as well. Capitalism fails because of greed, and communism fails because of greed. Socialism fails because of greed. We need to keep that greed in check because there's some greedy people out there who want more. As I went on about on Sunday ad nauseum, is the zero-sum fallacy. The idea that we're gonna, you know, look at every problem, every dilemma, as in, you know, how much money. You know, if I do something for somebody else, they're taking something from me. You know. I too am ambidextrous. So I write right-handed. I have years of special needs lessons because my handwriting was illegible. My grandma left-handed. My son is left-handed. Does make me wonder. It's crazy, isn't it? Isn't it fucking crazy? That's pretty cool being ambidextrous, though. I'll give me right arm to be ambidextrous. Joke. Everyone, look at Karl Popper's tolerance paradox. The far right ramble on about the tolerant left because they are terrified of the majority realizing they need to Karl Popper it. Yeah. Andy says, if I had to send a message or record anything of import, type. I have enough trouble reading notes. I myself made. Yeah. Years ago on a school report, I had everything as good. They said one bad thing, my handwriting was very bad. Within a week, I corrected it, and now my writing is similar to the writing in card. Okay. When my dad was at school, they'll be punished for speaking Welsh. Not everyone could speak English. Yeah, John, well, that was another thing that we used to do, right? So for many years, and if you're Welsh, you'll know this, keeping the Welsh language alive. If you spoke Welsh in a Welsh school, you could be beaten for it. Beaten by an adult, you know, corporal punishment, they called it at the time, but it was ABH, you know, actual bodily harm. Beaten with a stick for speaking your native tongue because the English tried to get rid of Welsh, like they tried to get rid of Cornish, like they tried to get rid of Scots Gaelic. They tried to beat it out of people. And that just made people speak it even more because obviously when you feel threatened and you feel like your community is under attack, what's the way that you can fight back? You survive. You pass on your legends, pass on your tongue, pass on your religion, whatever it is. That's the way you fight back. That's the way you win, and you will win in the end. Yeah, because they can't stop it. I keep saying, like, you know, even if all the trans people in the world decide not to be trans anymore for some fucking mad reason, there'll still be trans people. There always will be. There always has been, and there always will be trans people. There'll always be left-handed people. There'll always be ginger people. You know? I got you, Cuthbert. My government shall mandate a minimum of 10 cubits personal space for all citizens. Which ambidextrous US president could write in Latin with one hand and Greek with the other at the same time? Who's that going to be? Probably like Jefferson, maybe. Thomas Jefferson, he was a clever sod. Although he did keep slaves, so you know you can't take the rough with this move. He's on the $2 bill. I've got a $2 bill on my table here. Hello, Jeff. No, wait, did people call him Jeff? I don't know. I saw a post by Jason Pargan last night after the news had broke about Dolly Parton. He sometimes talks about this whole thing of like the time, you know, the weirdness of thinking back in time, and like when Dolly Parton was born, you know, Henry Ford was still alive, and you know he's given all these examples, and the last one he gave was that every US president has been born or lived. No, every US president has lived when Jefferson or Herbert Hoover were alive. those two presidents, their lifespans cover or overlap with the lives of every single American president they've ever had. Just two people. That's how young America is. And that's how our perception of time is a little bit mad. Like David Attenborough was born the same year as Marilyn Monroe. Let that fry your noodle. I bet Trump can pick his nose and finger and his butthole at the same time. He's a genius. Problem is, he forgets which finger is which. Then we get around. As I was at school in Wales, I was sometimes sent out of class for being English or sounding English. It works both ways as person impersonator. You were sent out of class for being English. My God. Fucking hell. I think there's an important life lesson here, which is that there's some people out there who, if you allow them to be twats, they will be. Look up the Stanford prison experiment for more details. Okay, we're going to move on from Dolly, whose, legacy will live on beyond her. And, I miss her already. And I'm just so glad that I got to see her sing live at Glasgow. And I'm just sad that she's gone, she's gone. Okay, so next up we've got the energy bills are rising. Sorry, good news. Ofgem is raising the domestic price cap by 4% from October. So an annual bill will rise from £1,663 to £1,723. So around 22 million households are affected. And the main driver of this is higher wholesale gas prices. It's the fossil fuels. If we had it all running off green energy, then that price would fall. I mean, that price could fall to fuck all. I don't know why. I don't know why we haven't done this decades ago. Well, I do actually, because the oil companies don't want it. OPEC don't want it. It's called the oil cartel. A cartel. What do you associate with cartels? Yeah, that's right. Drug mafias in Mexico and Colombia. Cartels. And there you go. The cartel is the same one that has stopped us from doing anything internationally, really, as a world, as a planet, about climate change, like we did in the 1980s about CFCs, where we came together as a planet and we banned CFCs. Because the CFC manufacturers weren't as powerful as the oil manufacturers. But do not fear. Oil is on its way out. Gas is on its way out. Coal is already gone. We do not have any. The last coal-fired power station shut down years ago in this country. We do not have any gas, any electricity coming into our grid, unless it's from an interconnector from another country. But none that's produced on these islands that comes from coal anymore. Right. 17 billion a year in subsidies to the oil and gas companies. We should stop that. Use the money to solar up 2 million houses a year. Yeah. Graham, no goal today. Sorry, Diz. I was a little bit carried away with talking about Dolly and stuff. So I'm gonna remedy that, and I'll do that right now. Do you know what I did last night when we did Geoscope? I said, "Oh, stay on watch, and then you'll automatically be taken over to Max's channel." And I forgot to set, because you got to set that up in advance, so it does that. And I got a little bit carried away. Listen, I've got to tell you, right? And I don't want you to get the fucking the violins out for me, but and I've not been feeling very well for the last couple of weeks since I got back from Mallorca. I've been really, really tired, like all the time, and my head's really foggy. And I was planning to get an appointment at the doctor's today to go and find out what the fuck's going on, but I did wake up in time, but then I fell back asleep. I'm sorry that I'm not particularly as on the ball as I am normally. So if you see me sort of drifting, try and pull me back. But yeah, I don't know. It might just be I just need some rest or something like that. I don't know. Cap is back. Oh, sorry, wrong Cap. Lol. What? Graham, hope you feel better soon. Oh, thanks, Sarah. I just don't feel awake. I just feel like really groggy. Like when I wake up, fucking hell. I just like, I've spoken about this before, but like the one time in my life earlier this year, I woke up and I was just like, wow, I'm just awake. I'm just awake. I was like alert, and I wasn't like, there for like 30 minutes until, finally, I've got a one of those Teasmades next to the bed, which I fucking love. I know people think, Teasmade, what is this? The 1950s? But it's the greatest invention known to humanity is the Teasmade. Fuck sliced bread. Get yourself a fucking Teasmade. A cup of tea or cup of coffee there in the morning next to you. You don't have to go down to the, don't have to go downstairs in your slippers. It's great. Viper Scott, thank you very much for the £2 super chat for Diz's Confetti fix. Oh, thank you. And thanks to Diz for getting people to chip in. Thank you. Historically, the Italian police watched Stradivarius carefully. He had a history of violence. Very good, Andy. I like that. Alistair's right. The like button, it looks like a fist. Medic, it needs a tickle to get the thumbs up. Coffee for the win. Oh, thanks very much, DTK 37-1. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Shingles vaccine linked to lower risk of heart attack and stroke. So these fine, says Simon. Yeah. This, one of the things that we don't really talk about, I don't think enough, just in society in general, is the medical breakthroughs that we've had in the last, since the turn of the century. Just absolutely mad medical breakthroughs that have meant that the people are living much longer with cancer. With defeated AIDS. Obviously there's still people dying of AIDS, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. But if you get your antiretrovirals, you can live a full and happy life. With a disease that was killing millions in the 1980s that seemed to have no cure. It was absolutely fucking terrifying. But so there are some really, really good news stories out there, especially when it comes to things like medicine. And it's just, I feel like we're being, and I don't want to insult the Luddites. I'm sure someone's going to come in and defend the Luddites because they were fighting, raging against the machine, literally, or the saboteurs threw their shoes into the machine. But I do feel there are people out there who they don't want things to get better. And when things get better, when progress happens, they see it as like an affront. And it's just bizarre until it affects them. Because they don't want to see other people doing better. They don't want to see other people doing all right. They don't see other people having a good time. And there was a division of humans, right, that you could possibly say, in a way, this is kind of black and white, right? And it's not sexuality. It's not how you look. It's not how feminine you are or masculine you are or whatever, right? These people who say there's no spectrum. There's no spectrum when it comes to gender, And you're like, but you go to the gym. Why'd you go to the gym? To become more masculine. Oh, okay, right. But I do think that there are people who are genuinely happy for others and people who aren't. So there's people who, they see someone else having a nice time. They see someone else doing well. Not through the proceeds of crime, but, doing well. And having a nice time, and they go, that's great, that's lovely, I'm glad that other person's having that good time, and it actually makes them feel better, the potential of having a good time. And then there's people who see other people having a good time and they hate it. They just say, oh, you fuckers. That's why I try not to be too harsh on people who don't like the music I like, or don't like the comedy I like, or support a football team that I don't like, or whatever. It's like, well, if it makes them happy and it's not doing anyone any harm, then I'm kind of happy for them. I went to watch the Liverpool bus come home last year. Because of course I did. It was a good time. I went in 2005 and they came back after winning the Champions League. I was there in in 1999, I think it was, when Manchester United won the treble. Right, I was there. I was in outside the bloody. I was in St. Peter's Square, is it? Outside the because it was in Manchester University. Why would I not go? I'm not a Manchester United fan by a long shot, but I was like, people will be having a good time. I'll join them, and then I'll have a good time as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, do you go to a wedding and go, oh, you bastard, getting married, I'm not getting married? Or do you go, oh my God, this is lovely. They're in love and they want everyone to know. And, I know there's a little bit of cynicism that we can all have now and again, but there's a big difference in the way that people approach the world. And if you are feeling like, oh, fuck these other people having a nice time. And I'm not talking about gobshites. I'm not talking about people showing off with their fake fucking cars, their hired cars, like Emma Tate, Emma Taint, and her brother, Twisted Tristan, Emery and Tristan. Jesus Christ. Hello, I'm a purveyor of toxic masculinity. Oh, what's your name? Emma. You got to laugh, haven't you? No, I'm not talking about people who have done horrible things and got, done well for themselves because of horrible things that they've done. I'm talking about when people are, decent people and they're having a nice time and they're doing something they enjoy. When someone shows you something that they're really proud of, yeah, just try not to be too cynical about it. If someone shows you the model railway, and there might be a little voice at the back of your head going, fucking hell, mate, you spent all this time making a model fucking railway. Just share their delight. Just go, that's fucking boss, that is. Oh my God, you made like a little dog to run around by the railway. Oh, you got a little tiny Jenny Agatha there waving to her dad on the platform. Oh, it's so cute. Get into the enthusiasm. And just, there are people who are hardwired to just be, to just see other people having a nice time and think the worst or think they shouldn't be allowed to have a nice time. What was it? There was someone who posted something the other day. In the 90s, people would often talk about people who are on benefits who had, they've got enough money for Sky TV. Oh, you see the satellites all down the road, satellite dishes. And I'm like, yeah, they choose to spend their money on TV, which costs less than a meal out each week, which is what the rich do and don't even think about it. There was a thing about people on benefits. What are you doing in Primark? You should be feeding your kids. I'm like, heaven forfend that people who are on benefits wear clothes. Yeah, they should be in Primark because the clothes are fucking cheap there. I'd be a bit more worried if they were in some boutique fucking place where it's like £5,000 for a little tiny handbag. It's halfway between a purse and a handbag. But yeah, just unfortunately, AIDS retro treatment did not arrive in time to save Freddie Mercury. Sad loss for us like Dolly. Yeah. But it's here now. It's here now. Trump should have been given the Nobel Prize for medicine for his bleach injection idea. Can't you just... Didn't he want to shine sunlight up someone's arse or something? Fuck. I just watched a vid about a man who's immune to Alzheimer's. That he's been prodded and poked at. It seems there's a drug being released that will cure it. I fucking hope so. I don't think it'll cure it. I think it'll prevent it. I think if they did a scan of my dad's brain, I think that those pathways that your brain creates, the connections, the synapses that it creates, think of them as like a well-worn path. If you use them often, if you recall that data, if you recall that memory, if you recall that the recognition more and more often, you will remember it more because you bring it to mind more and more and more. Whereas something that your brain files as not important, they think this is the whole thing. That sleep is basically your brain sorting out what was important that day, the stuff you need to remember and the stuff that you don't need to remember. Doing the filing system, defragging your hard drive, so to speak. They reckon that happens while you sleep. But yeah, a cure for Alzheimer's, a cure for dementia, is going to be huge because so many people are living with that, suffering with it. The people around them are suffering because of the having to look after someone who's going that way. And yeah, obviously I've got a personal stake in that. And I don't want to go that way. It absolutely fucking terrifies me. It really does. I'd rather take a pill and fall asleep and never wake up than go through that. I don't want to. No. It's no way to lead this life. Been awake all night. Watch YouTube videos on Marvel comic stories. They might be a bit fried. Lol. We've all been there. We've all been there. One angry pagan. Once upon a time, the right wing didn't want us to be able to read. Yes. Well, why do you think the Bible wasn't in English for so long? He didn't want the commoners understanding it. Your daily reminder that no white people in the Bible, and you need to tell the far right every time they bring up Christianity. I want to do a children's book about Jesus being the only white man in Galilee. the only white man in Nazareth. Yeah, he was the only one. He was the only one. On the subject of Alzheimer's, anyone in the Slough area may be interested in a charity football game this weekend. Slough fans versus FM creators. Oh, that's cool. Okay, thanks for that, Boltzkopf. If you are in the Slough area, you need to look out for that. Slough. Says Gamma Frame Man. That's an unfortunate name. I would change it. Okay, so a bit of good news that was reported in The Guardian. I think it was on the BBC site as well this morning. Nearly 100 Labour MPs want Burnham to establish a royal commission on replacing first past the post as an electoral system. I think he's going to go for this. I've got a bit of an inside track on this, and if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but I would put a small flutter on this. Hey, I might be a betting man. I might just not have met the right bet yet. But a wider parliamentary amendment of support from 185 MPs. Burnham has previously backed proportional representation, and the government's representation of the people bill returns to Parliament on the 2nd of September. That's the one that brings voting down to 16. This could be huge. Royal Commission put in place to look at a new voting system, and then Labour put that on the manifesto for 2029. And it goes through. And for those of you who, I don't want to be patronising, I don't want to be shitty about this, right? So I'm saying this with love, okay? If Burnham was to change the system without a general election, if Burnham was to take us back into the EU without a general election, if Burnham was to do a lot of things without a general election, right? It will be kicked back by the House of Lords. They spend years putting these bills together, right? It takes a fucking long time, and it will go back and forth. And the House of Lords could hold it up. A small group of people in the House, 5 people in the House of Lords, managed to make the euthanasia bill run out of time earlier this year, in the last parliamentary term, right? Kim Leadbeater's bill ended up gotten rid of because it wasn't in the manifesto. If it's not in the manifesto, there's a thing called the Parliaments Act. I think it's the Parliaments Act of 1911 or something that says that the lower house, House of Commons, can overrule the upper house, the House of Lords. But it has to be something that's in the King's Speech, that's been promised by the government. You said we were going to do this, and if it's in the King's Speech, it has to be in the manifesto. Put it to the test. So yeah, I think something as big to a change to our constitution as changing the voting system, yeah, absolutely. It has to be a general election matter. It has to go into a manifesto, and then once it's done that, it can go through, and it will go through. And I'm feeling quite positive about that. I'm feeling quite positive about us getting closer to the EU. I'm just trying to be patient. I'm the least patient motherfucker you'll ever meet. I'm fucking ADHD. Go and sit with me in a fucking meeting and just see me getting bored. Just come on, you've taken more than 30 seconds to say this thing, which is ironic because I can talk for 65 and a half hours pretty much non-stop, as has been proven. But for someone like me who's very pro EU, very much for changing the voting system, very much for a fairer system. I understand that these things can't be done overnight, and I just try not to be too impatient about it because I know it's coming. And it's the same with the Green Revolution. It's happening. It's fucking happening. The capitalists can't stop it. The oil companies can't stop it. We are on the death throes of the fossil fuel industry. And you will be amazed at how fast the world will become clean or clean air, right? Than it is now once oil is gotten rid of, right? You have the power that you've taken from the wind or the sun. It goes down a cable, it comes out your house at the speed of light, effectively. I know the physics is a bit more complicated than that, but it's effectively at the speed of light. That's amazing. Meanwhile, oil comes from Angola at the speed of a fucking cargo ship chugging along, burning bunker oil, the worst kind of fuel that you could possibly fucking burn, chugging along at 20 knots. She's about 25 miles an hour. Chug, 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 chug. Come on, oil. Then it gets here and we have to, put it through distal faculation or whatever the fuck it's called. Fractal distillation, is it? Is that what it's called? We have to put it through a refinery. We have to refine it. And then when you run your power, your liquid sludge that you've put into your car, this volatile, explosive liquid into your car, the efficiency is 20%. 20%? 80% of the energy in your engine is lost in heat and other shit. It's lost. 80% is lost. It's one of the least efficient ways of running anything. Electric motor, 80% efficient. 80%, only 20% is lost in heat. That's remarkable. Phil dropped a video about a 8G. If I work naked, I could get mascara as a business expense. Oh, is it time for my new catchphrase? Burnham's a bell end, says Gallifreyan man. Reminding the gammon Jesus was short with a humpback and squinty eye, very dark skinned, upsets him too. That's how he is described in the Bible. But he's completely normal and human. Short with a humpback and a squinty eye. Really? We need to bin off the House of Lords, replace it with Z-list celebrities, and also avoid Big Brother and celebrity shows. Bug oil, that's what I cook my breakfast in. It needed doing, but the community, whatever that was, didn't always like the people who did what needed to be done or said what had to be said. Times feet of clay. Terry Pratchett. Yeah, I'm going to the Labour Party conference at the end of next month, I think it is. But I will be talking to MPs while I'm there. I'll be talking to ministers while I'm there, and I'm going to be trying to get, if I do get myself in the same room as Andy Burnham, which I might do at some point, I will be pushing for getting rid of this fucking trans guidance. Okay, that's going to be me number one thing. I think a lot of other things are going to happen anyway, but dumping the trans guidance is something that will be a quick win for Andy Burnham. He can do it. It won't be something that has to go through the House of Lords or anything like that. It's just like, this isn't working. Just announce that it's not working. And so we're gonna drop that, and we're gonna get, I don't know, maybe we could have some new guidance that's written by trans people for how the cis community can stop being a bunch of twats, and maybe we could give some guidance on how to not be a twat. Maybe we could do that. Not be a bigoted twat. Yeah. So next up, we've got ADHD and autism complaints. More than triple. This isn't complaints about people with autism or ADHD. This is people, although your mileage may vary on this channel, but this is complaints about services for ADHD and autism. There are more than over 500,000 open NHS referrals. More than 60% of those have been waiting for over a year. Long waits, fragmented services, disputed diagnoses, and medical problems. The government has commissioned an independent review into this, and that's kind of welcome. And I'm still reeling over Channel 4 putting out a show where they said, ADHD doesn't exist, which I think is really fucking unhelpful. Really fucking, for the mental health of people living with ADHD, fuck off. But at the same time, there's a lot of videos online that talk absolute bollocks about ADHD. Absolute bollocks, and they do it for the clicks. They do it for the clicks because they want people to go, maybe I've got ADHD, because they just list things that everybody does. I find it worth pointing out that refining oil is so uneconomical. Monaco tax dodger Jim Ratcliffe demanded subsidies to keep Grangemouth open. Yeah. The economy of oil is mental. It's just cray. By the way, I'm not Christian. I study theology. Anyone want to learn about the Quran next? Yeah, all right. Now they won't ask trans people to get involved. We don't have enough money to outlobby the oil companies. Well, this is the thing, Labour, of all parties, should take all stakeholders on board. And when you're making rules that affect trans people, you've got to include trans people. You've got to include. How can you not include trans people in that? Dolly wrote Jolene and I will always love you on the same day, by the way. She didn't like Whitney's version, was happy with the paychecks. She didn't like Whitney. I loved Whitney's version of it. I thought it was fantastic. That's amazing, isn't it? Jolene and I will always love you on the same day. That's remarkable. Damn it, L. If Jolene stuck in my head again, I'm blaming you. I'm not going to sing it. It is a very catchy song. Yahweh was a pagan god attached to an area of a desert near Edom. You should like him, angry pagan. He was a storm and rain god. Yeah. He also didn't want people worshipping other gods, which, what's it called? Polytheism. Yeah. Channel 4 did a great documentary on ADHD. Did they? Simon, I think if you were talking about the same fucking documentary, the one that they brought out last week, no, fuck off. No offense, mate, but it was like, is ADHD a hoax? Here's one person who thinks that it is. It's like, fuck off. It's not a hoax. It is real. And then people have different degrees of it. I've got I Will Always Love You as an earworm. Well, I think everyone's got earworms this morning, but that's the legacy of Dolly Parton. Yara originally had a wife, a sharer, but of course, having females have any power is a no. Very patriarchal society, these desert societies. We don't live in a desert. Here's a question for you, right? I don't want to go down the route of talking about Israel, because obviously that's a rabbit hole. We have gone down that many, many times. But let's just look at the land of Israel, right? And I don't mean to be horrible about it, right? But I've been to Israel, right? It's a fucking desert. It's just, it's not a land of milk and honey. In the Bible, they make reference to a land of milk and honey. Israel, Palestine. It's not it. It is not it. It's a scrabbly bit of semi-arid desert between the Mediterranean and Saudi Arabia, and then Jordan. It's just, and the scrabbly fucking barren lands of the Sinai Peninsula. It's like, okay, this is the honey land. This is the milk land. Do you know what is a land of milk and honey? Here, Britain, Ireland, lands of milk and honey. They really, really are. So, I don't know what those ancient people thought of as paradise. We're given an example in the Bible of the Garden of Eden. It was a garden. And yeah, if you grow up in a fucking desert, an oasis with life and trees and greenery and water, yeah, that's paradise in the middle of a fucking desert. But for us, it's just Tuesday. I'm just saying. There's trouble now. I've got another story, and this is really. I'm gonna end the show today on a few good news stories, but I just want to tell this. This is fucking horrible. This is absolutely horrible. So brace yourselves. 100 young care leavers died in 2025 in 1 year. More than 100 young people. That is 3 to 4 times that of their peers. The murder rate in the UK, sorry, the number of people murdered, not the rate, but the number of people murdered in England and Wales last year was about 550. So 20%. 20% of the people who were murdered, the equivalent of, had died. No, I'm not saying they're all murdered. I'm saying, 3 or 4 times that of their peers. Isolation, poor transition planning, and the abrupt loss of support at the age of 18. That, for me, is just a horrific number. While we're all fighting about boats and who can use the toilet and all this bollocks, 100 young people failed by the system. Children in care because maybe their parents have died, or maybe they've been abandoned, or I don't know what each situation is. But it's bad enough that so many children who are in care end up in prison. It's even worse that there's 100 of them who are no longer with us. That is a dereliction of duty. And that's why society is so important. And why it's so important that we help each other out. And we help out the less fortunate. What households, meanwhile, may be told to keep emergency supplies. This is a cabinet office that are preparing a new public resilience advice that encouraging people to keep tin food, bottled water, and basic supplies. And this is to cover extreme weather, cyber attacks, infrastructure failure, hostile state threats. The aim is to help households cope for the first few days of first stages of a national emergency. I think that this needs to be done. But at the same time, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? It's 2026. What the fuck are we doing? It's 2026, not 1926, 2026. There's been questions asked about the National Lottery's new boss. Alwyn UK has appointed Phil Walker as an interim chief executive. MPs are raising concerns over his previous senior roles in the gambling industry. He was fined, not him, but William Hill was fined nearly £20 million a couple of years ago, 2023 it was, for regulatory failures, while Walker was a senior executive of that company. He's a current non-executive role with adult gaming centre operator Game Nation is also under scrutiny. National Lottery. I wonder if I can find out some more about Phil Walker. I'm just going to look on. Philip Walker's been appointed CEO. Read the full story here. LinkedIn. Disagree. I don't want. Oh, that's a fucking advert for something. No, I was gonna look him up and see if he went to a posh private school, but not much information on him on the internet. I'll leave it to other stuff. Mr. Tis, thanks to Russia and the Yanks, and Saudi Arabia, and Russia, America, Saudi Arabia, who all seem to be morphing into an omni country of omni cunts, of deeply, deeply misogynistic, deeply transphobic, homophobic, racist, patriarchal gobshites. Okay, got to take notes of disciplinary hearing. Take care, everyone. You're all amazing company. Bye, Martin. Take care, my friend. The UK needs to adopt water recycling in households as we waste far too much. Yeah. Well, I don't care about wasps and the figs. My top favourite snack is salt and vinegar crickets. Ooh, bit of insects. Anyway, So meanwhile, offshore tax havens have been accused of frustrating transparency. There's a story about this in the Guardian today. The British overseas territories, including the British Virgin Islands and the Cayman Islands, have now have beneficial ownership registers. Campaigners say the systems are too expensive, slow, and restricted to be genuinely useful. Applicants often need to identify the company in advance and prove a legitimate interest. Critics say that it undermines efforts to trace hidden wealth and suspected dirty money, which is happening all the time in these offshore tax havens that make all their money through very, very rich people who don't want to have to pay tax. It's like the pirate republics again, isn't it? Pirate Republic of the Bahamas. The pirate republics. They got rid of tobacco advertising. Now they can't avoid the gambling commercials. Yeah. Insects. What's this? It's insects having insects. I'll probably get flagged now for saying naughty words, like when I say Scunthorpe. Meanwhile, new research has found out that a bird song can improve mood and reduce anxiety, even though bird sounds very different now. The morning cover sounds very different now than what it did in the 1960s, because so many native birds in the UK are either very, very rare, few and far between these days, or absolutely fucking extinct on these islands. But the noise of roads reduces the benefits of birdsong. The louder the traffic, the weaker the benefit. And this is why we need green spaces, which need protection from noise as well as physical development. And I believe this wholeheartedly. In the last few years, I've become a lot more aware of my oral environment, as in oral as in ears, AURAL. Not oral as in what else thinking of, yeah, audio environments maybe, and modern life is so fucking noisy, and a lot of that noise comes from fucking cars that are burning fucking oil or gas, diesel, what's it called, petrol, and making a fucking load of noise doing it, and it is really stressful. It stresses people out. I feel sorry for people who live on fucking A roads. Cars going, living on the North Circular. There's fucking noisy cars going past. And I tell you, every time there's a loud noise past our house, some dickhead in a quad bike or a scrambler bike going past, and it makes it. I can feel myself getting more stressed. I hate the idea that everywhere we go and everywhere we walk, we've got to always keep an eye out for a fucking car. A vehicle being driven too fast, a 2-ton vehicle that might crash into us at any fucking time. Imagine if they're just animals. Imagine if there was just these big fuck off animals that just ran around our cities, randomly bumping into people. And sometimes they stopped and let the pedestrians cross, and sometimes they fucking didn't. And we just lived with it. We'd kill all those fucking animals. Be like, oh, this is too stressful. Well, every time I walk over there, I've got to worry about getting mown down by this massive 2-ton fucking animal. Who's a bit drunk for some reason. Yeah, we wouldn't put up with that. Why do we put up with it? Because why do we bow and prostrate ourselves? Bow down to the altar of the fucking automobile, and the cars must not stop. The cars must not stop. Gosh, I've got an idea. The cars must not stop forever. You have these huge areas. I saw a video yesterday of fucking. It was an old Pathé News clip. Oh, there was the news. Well, it wasn't that bad. It was in the 70s, I think. It was the early 70s. It wasn't quite Pathé. It was the news on Pathé News. But it was about how they were knocking down these historic buildings in Newcastle city centre to put that fucking motorway through it. And I'm just looking at it going, the cars must not stop. Yeah. This so good. Saves the crops, free protein. They just taste like prawns, basically freeze them and pull off the legs to avoid unnecessary crunches. Says strange English lyricist. Yeah, they do take. I mean, that's why they call lobsters bugs in like Halifax and in Canada. They call them bugs because that's what they are. They're just big bugs. It's the same. It tastes the same. Insects and crustaceans taste very similar. And also, Wichita grub pate tastes a lot like hummus. A lot like hummus. You would think if someone gave you some what you I mean, you couldn't do this to someone who was an ethical vegetarian, I don't think, but if you gave someone some Wichita grub pate and told them that it was hummus, they'll probably go, yeah, sure, yeah. There's Derwent Valley up here has loads. Birds have started flying south for the autumn, e.g. ospreys. The ospreys, if they buggered off spray. That doesn't really work, that does it? Rutland. Let's talk about Rutland, where the Ruttles are from. Famous band. Bigger than the Beatles, they were. Rutland County Council is expected to merge with Leicestershire in 2028. The Save Rutland campaign has gained more than 7,000 signatures, which I think is more people than live in Rutland. Rutland was previously absorbed into Leicestershire in 1974, but it regained independent council status in 1997. It is the smallest county in the country, and it's a favourite of pub quizzes all up and down the land. And they're going to merge with Leicestershire in a couple of years' time. What can you do? We mentioned Freddie Mercury early, didn't we? His costumes are going on show at the V&A. It's called Freddie Mercury Splendid Things. It's going on display from October, and the items span Queen's early years up until the 1986 Magic Tour. And the exhibition was developed with Mary Austin, and entry will be free. So if you're in London, after October for whatever reason, and you want to go to that, I would recommend it. The V&A is a great museum. It's a really good museum. Really like it. As far as you can like museums in this country, because we did rob stuff from lots of other countries and some of us feel bad about that. But this is something that we haven't robbed. Well, you could argue that we robbed it from Zanzibar, but then we robbed Freddie Mercury from Zanzibar in the first place. So there you go. Okay, so my deposit towards Confetti says Hidden Night. Oh, thank you, Hidden Night. That's very kind of you. Your names come up in a different colour there. It doesn't normally. They did that on one of the previous super chats. They're changing the colours of the names. Didn't Rutland have the highest proportion of wife swapping? I don't know. One of the UK's first labour law restricted the number of times an employer could feed oysters to apprentices. Is that because oysters were like originally just like the poor man's food? You know, you go the pub and they'd have a barrel of oysters at the end of the bar and you just grab one because they were so 10 a penny. QI begs to differ about the smallest county, Isle of Wight. Ooh, okay, fair enough. That's why sensible people always wear a hockey mask. Fair enough too. Right, so we're quickly, one less for Diz's Confetti fix. Oh, thank you very much to Viper Scott there for one more towards the Confetti fix. And if anyone gets the last, we're at 4, we get 5 super chats. If someone makes it a big one and chooses which of the Confettis they want. You can have old-fashioned Confetti, you can have Boba Fetti, you can have Bin Feffy, or you can have the special Graham Bin Feffy. It's up to you. The hideous bastard child of me and Count Binface. Anyway, we're going to go over to the papers, and then I'll do some good news after this. Pursuit of net zero has failed to cut manufacturers' energy bills. Yes, because we're still charging at the rate of the most expensive bit of the grid, the most expensive fuel in the system, and the most expensive fuel in the system is gasoline. Is not gasoline. Gas is natural gas. There's nothing natural about pumping gas out the ground from thousands of meters underground and then bringing it all up to the surface. Ooh, Colin Baker, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. And that took us over the line, and we've now achieved the goal. But you didn't say which Confetti you wanted, so I'm just gonna do Boba Fetti because we haven't done that for a while. There we go. There's Boba Fetti. I remember Boba Fett was cool and elusive. Hey, Boba Fetti! Woo! Cool. Thank you, Colin Baker. You are a ledge, my friend. You are a ledge. I'm going to set the goal again. I mean, yeah, I doubt we'll get another 5 super chats before the end of the show, but we'll try. I'm going to wrap up at 11:30 today. No PMQs today. It's still on their summer holidays. I've eaten a dandelion salad from the wild when we had 0 money. Says Diz. That's interesting. I've eaten some mad stuff, but it wasn't because I didn't have enough money. It was just because I wanted to try it. Had to renew my energy today. What the fuck? I've eaten nettle soup. I've eaten rabbit. Like rabbit that we caught. I've eaten loads of stuff. We didn't catch the rabbit. Oh, no, we didn't catch the rabbit. I think we got it from the butchers. I don't know. But yeah. I've eaten loads of mad stuff. I don't want to put you off your breakfast. Anyway, back to the boycott fears over Burnham's Israel plan, West Bank settlement, sanctions, split Labour. Andy Burnham is poised to announce robust sanctions on Israeli settlements in the West Bank, despite warnings that it could spiral into de facto boycott of the country. Oh dear, how sad, never mind. Dolly Parton there, with her acoustic guitar. Stars have lined up to pay tribute to Dolly Parton, the Queen of Country. US refuses to confirm CIA chief's visit to Moscow. This strange visit by the chief. We covered this on Geoscope yesterday. The head of the CIA flew into Moscow unannounced for some reason and then left very soon after. And the American flag has been taken down from the American embassy in Moscow, and no one knows why. It's all a bit odd. I tell you what, right? I want you in the chat. Is your job to do while I'm just going through the papers, because it's all going to be about Dolly Parton, right? So I want you, now that Dolly Parton's gone, can you just list things that you think are worth keeping America for right now? Do you know what I mean? If you could just scrumple up America and throw it in the bin. Like, is there anything in there? Is there anything in America right now that you think is worth saving? All right, what's worth saving? Who or what is worth saving from America right now? Just let me know in the chat. I don't want to get too serious about this, but you know, I do think she's the last American that everyone sort of liked. So apparently Lowe is getting nearly £1,000 a day for sitting on his arse and complaining on X. Yep. He's got millions of subscribers who go, yeah, I hate black people. Dara O'Brien on Comedy Coolest and Finding His Parents. Inside the Rutland route, can England's smallest county survive? At the top there. We've got back a review on electoral reform at Burnham tells MPs. Or MPs tell Burnham, even better. I've always wanted to be a star. It just seemed natural to me. Dolly Parton there. PM may change law to shake up utility firms. Andy Burnham is considering ripping up the country's insolvency laws in order to make it easier to bring key utilities such as Thames Water under public control. That's one way to do it. And then we got Canada to hit US with dollar for dollar tariffs, which we've also mentioned. We covered that quite extensively on Geoscope and on a show yesterday about the trade war between Canada and the US, which isn't going to end well. It will not end well. The BIM podcast is worth saving. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. Native Americans. Yep, definitely. Redwood trees and my son. Yep, fair enough. Bruce Springsteen. Yep, I'll go with that. Not biscuits and gravy. No, this is supposed to be positive things. We're supposed to be making a list of things about America that are actually all right. Okay, things about America that we actually, we like. Even if it's a little bit of a guilty secret. Just. Now is the time to confess. Now is the time to confess. If let's just say America is on fire. What do you run in and rescue before it all goes up in flames? Okay, who or what do you rescue? It could be anything. It could be the Statue of Liberty if you want. It doesn't have to be. We're not being too realistic about this. Okay. I'm just trying to a bit of positivity. But person impersonator. Now I'm off. Bye. Oh, something I said. Save the scientists, let them flee here like they did the Nazis. Yeah. We're saving my 2 American friends who live in Georgia and who feel like they're waking up from a nightmare every day, says Alexa. Okay, yeah, we can save them. We can set up some kind of underground railway to rescue the decent folks. I've been saying this for a while. We should don't rescue them. We should just poach them. Just like go, come here. come here. John Fogerty, Mel Brooks, Dick Van Dyke. Sort of John Fogerty, Glastonbury last year. It was fucking brilliant. My closest in Alabama, love them dearly. Hate where they live. Liked it when they lived in the Chicago burbs. I've got very, very good friends of mine, a gay couple who have moved out. They've gone. They've left America because it's just too much. It's just fucking too much. Graceland. Ooh, okay. LCD sound system. The Simpsons. Well, Harry, I think the Simpsons have had their day in the sun, haven't they? I mean, come on. I think I'll save John Waters, the film director. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. The guy did Hairspray and Pink Flamingos. Poached American doesn't sound too tasty. Some of the scenery is pretty good, so we'll take some of the scenery. At least Dolly knew when she became famous, it was down to her getting no parents forcing her to go into famous film. No one using her, just Dolly being Dolly. R.I.P. legend. Yeah, Black American culture and all it gave the world, e.g., jazz, rock and roll, endless cool vibes. Yeah. The Bears can stay over there. They can move to Canada. It's all right. We had to bring them here. Star Wars, says Al. Yeah, but we've already got that. I think we should have a rule here that if we've already got it, like we've all got a copy of Star Wars, don't worry, that's not going to disappear. But like, do we need more Star Wars? I don't think so. Or we can make our own Star Wars. Everything should be saved due to all being constant source of amusement. I mean, who else are we going to point and laugh at? Yeah, but the damage they're doing in the world, Pete, is just horrific. I mean, the pulling away, the scrapping of US aid has killed millions and will continue to kill millions every year until it's put back in place. It's just horrific. What's happening in Iran is just horrific. What's happened in Gaza under America's fucking BDI, who's gone, oh, we don't care about this. We don't care about the people of Gaza. The Flying Saucer Bar in Memphis. That was really specific. I love it. Many of the streamers on both YouTube and Twitch from their clutches of the respective corporations. The good parts of Star Wars were British. They were. You could definitely argue that. The guy who played Darth Vader, Dave Prowse, he was British. R2-D2, Kenny Baker was British. RC-3PO. Anthony Daniels was British. It was filmed in Britain at Elstree Studios, I think, the first one, in 1976. We could set up a big fence around the area and have people safely travel around pointing and, oh, hang on, I just reinvented Jurassic Park. One of the number plates that was on one of the old bikes that my dad had back in the day was JED, right? 176. Jedi 76, and they filmed Star Wars in 1976 in Britain. Oh, I don't know what I ever did with that. Star Wars UK version, isn't that the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Yeah, quite similar. Both equally as ludicrous. We can set a big fence around the area and have people safely travel around pointing in, oh, hang on, I just reinvented Jurassic Park. A UK-made Star Wars would inexplicably become a police drama. Yeah. Or it would be like one of those twee mystery shows where they have to just solve who committed the murder. You know, who committed? I've you know, we're going to solve the murder. You know, this whodunit format. Who's going to? There's only one Star Wars film. So it's not magenta. There is. Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. Anyway, back to the papers for a moment. Harry's 15-year plan and blah, I don't care. Burnham warned of impending Russian UK attack. Andy Burnham has been warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over its support for Ukraine. Okay. Whatever. We'll always love her. Dolly Parton dies at 80 years old. There's Dolly there. Never afraid to have a bit of nip and tuck, was she? We always love you, Dolly. Legendary Dolly, country singer Dolly Parton has died aged 80. That's from The Star. We'll always love you, Dolly, from The Mirror. Same story. A new royal couple that's refreshingly old-fashioned. It's a gay couple. A gay couple, I assume. There's an old-fashioned royal gay couple. Okay, cool. That works. Birmingham set to be the first 20-mile-an-hour city. Fantastic. That will save dozens of lives, if not hundreds of lives. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Dolly Parton, dead. Pensioners face tax raid to bail out Britain. Fuck off. Fuck off, Daily. Stop lying. Stop lying, Daily Telegraph. Face tax raid to bail out Britain. What are you talking about? Badenoch to reshuffle shadow cabinet. Leith ban lunch boxes to tackle obesity. Energy bills to rise as net zero bites. Net zero. No. It's nothing to do with net zero. He fucking lies. I hate the fact that they're allowed to lie on the front of their newspaper. Fuck off with your lies, okay? It's not because of net zero. It's because the price of wholesale gas has gone up because of the war in Ukraine and because of the war in Iran. That is why. Because we don't control the means of production of oil. The Late Show. It was Jessica Fletcher. It was always there. She was always there when there was a murder. The little creator of Yugigio Abridged and the whole abridged subgenre online also recently came out as trans. Oh, good. Who committed the murder? These aren't the suspects you're looking for. Here's a million credits. I can imagine quite a lot. She recorded the version of Stairway to Heaven just for her husband. Oh, that's sweet. I still say the Jedi weren't the good guys and Star Wars was propaganda. I didn't realize that in 2015-16, Adam West did 2 animated Batman movies. I ordered the Blu-rays. One has arrived. Are you watching it after this? Nonsense. We know costs went up because of trans single Muslims. Yeah. God, what an absolute rag of a newspaper. How can they get away with lying to people like that? And then the Daily Express, it's never known love in its life. We will always love it. No, you won't. Britain must prepare for Putin's threat. The bake is nearly back with Nigella at the helm. I love Nigella, privately educated, of course, because she's allowed to be on television. She's the daughter of Nigel Lawson, who obviously wanted a boy, but called his daughter Nigella. It's a bit close to Frogmella or Spudulica from the slobs. UGO pay me so much. Sorry, it didn't have capitals, so I wasn't really sure what the word was when I saw it all together like that. But whatever. Did anyone know about Lady Penelope Mordaunt apparently being refused permission to stand at the next election? Yeah, Penny Mordaunt, and also what's his name? Connie Stockheath, whatever his name is. The guy who pretends to be different people. They're not letting old Tories stay in their old constituencies because to stand, because they don't want people who think net zero is actually a thing that we need to achieve, or who want to stay in the European Convention on Human Rights. Prue Leaf must be so proud of her son Danny Kruger defending refuck candidates' sexism and misogynistic comments. Then again, hearing a Scouser trying to say UGO was hilarious. Burnham needs to look at Leveson too. Press needs to stop with all the misinformation, says Ryan. But how can they stand up and fight without their sword bear? Reach PLC confused me as an ownership group. They pandered to so many readerships. Independent just leads with Dolly Parton, Queen of Country, dies at 80. And then we've got the iPaper here, future of UK state pension triple lock in doubt with older population growing faster than workers. We've talked about this before. It's on its way out. It cannot stay. It was only meant to be temporary anyway. Fuck it. CIA director secret mission to Moscow. Beloved Queen of Country music. Generation game. I'd like to give money to the grandkids, but my children want it for themselves. Okay. What a dilemma. What a dilemma. Okay, and then maybe they need it for themselves. And then there's a strange story on the front of the Metro, which is completely ignoring the death of Dolly Parton and everything else going on, but switching to vapes better than puffing. E-cigs with nicotine beat gum and patches at helping smokers get habits, say scientists. Is that news? Is that front page? Haven't we known that for a long time? Still horrible. It's still putting chemicals in your lungs. That shouldn't have those chemicals in your lungs. I can't. You're still poisoning yourself. And anyone else around you who can smell it with chemicals. I know everything's made of chemicals, but some chemicals are more toxic than other toxic chemicals. Harry Flashman, Batman Return to the Cape Crusader, Batman versus Two-Face. They use Rhinestone Cowboys as headline for her death. Damn you. Shame it wasn't Limestone Cowboy, although I fear for the horse's back. What? A limestone. Well, she said, why did you get dressed up? And she said, people come from the farm to come and see me, and I've got to put on a show. I kind of like that attitude. You got to give the people what they want. Give them something nice to look at. Financial Times, is appetite dwindling for data center tech? Yes, I hope so, because it's fucking insane. Myths of better past will not help Burnham. Metals Lifeline, hope for Brazil asbestos town. Beijing threatens to strike back if US sanctions on Iran hits China's interests. OnlyFans owner Radvinsky collected $700 million in dividends before his death. UN must evolve to reflect a new world, Guterres says. We've also got a briefing here. Value for money doubts trail British business bank. We've got NatWest renews US push. We've got JP Morgan eases stance. We've got Canada's tip for tat tariffs. We've got contract boosts Vistry. I don't know what that means. We've got Waymo heads for Munich. Is that where it's meant to go? I mean, like, did someone get in a Waymo and say, I want to go to Munich? Is that what happened there? Germany bounces back and country star Parton dies. Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton has departed. Unfortunately. Remember, data centers love bamboo. Bamboo will soak up all the water before the data center gets a drop. Yeah, well, data centers are the big thing now, aren't they? And whether they are a good idea or not remains to be seen. I think, just generally speaking, I'm a little bit sus. What can I say? I just feel like if it was that great, why isn't it better? That's my attitude. Your mileage may vary, and that's fine if it does. But come on, if it's that good, why isn't it better? Why does it fuck up all the time? Why does it make mistakes all the time? Why does it lie all the time? Why does it just make stuff up all the time? Why? Inquiring minds wish to know. So, anyway, back to the show. A warehouse full of tulip bulbs, says Andy. Ooh. What are they going to do at these AI centres when people get over the craze? What, the craze is in the twins from London, the gangsters. Do not plant bamboo near data centres. The word not is subjective, so technically it's do plant bamboo near data centres. If AI is so good, why not AI too? Why no AI too? I don't get it. AI too. Don't get it. You're being too cryptic for me this time of morning, man. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap up now, if you don't mind. Was that study funded by Philip Morris by any chance? Probably. Philip Morris, one of those companies that sues West African governments for putting warning labels on cigarettes. I love it when a big American company that kills people for a living, makes money out of killing people, sues an African country for putting warning labels on cigarettes. Warning labels that have been on cigarettes in Western countries for decades now. Anyway, okay, so that's it for this morning. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing at the best of times, but there's no PMQs today, and I haven't set up a rabbit hole for later today at 6 o'clock, although it might happen. So please, don't make me beg, but give us a like before you go. But also subscribe to the channel, especially if you're watching this on catch up. It really makes a difference. But also hit the bell notification icon. And if I'm going to be late, if I'm going to be doing a show, you actually get a notification in your pocket. And it's good because it just means that you get a notification about this channel. You don't necessarily get a notification about all the other channels that you don't give a fuck about. Yeah, how good is that? Yeah, fuck about. Find out. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and until we meet again, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.